look like an idiot.
Incredible, life-changing video I have ever seen. Kinda looks like your mom!
Come on!
The game starts out with this crazy intro. Okay, let's see how this goes. What the heck? This is... Air attack. Casper. Simulacra 3. Next we are hoisted to the lock screen of a phone. I just gotta say this before we start, but there's gonna be a jump scare from that screensaver. Also, who the heck makes that their screensaver? I would be horrified that a demon would pop out of it all the time. Anyway, I'm being texted by this girl named Ruby, which seems to be about the only thing I can do on the phone at the moment. She seems to be a reporter for the Stone Creek Citizen, and I happen to be her new partner. She tells me that we are going to be working on a case together that is going to help us figure out why people have been going missing in Stone Creek. She tells me she has a source named Paul Castillo, who had been looking into the mystery of Stone Creek and sent the phone I'm using to her saying that it is evidence. Instead of looking into the phone herself, she decided to send it to me so she can continue to look around town while I find evidence in the phone. So she asked me to get to work by looking in the phone. There isn't much when I first look in it, only finding a few photos, but I do find this video. Okay.
Hey Ruby. This video may come as a surprise or not. I know we've had our differences, but that's why I respect you. It's time I tell you something. Again, it needs believing, but more importantly, it needs stopping. The town is changing. You and I can feel it. But it's an outside influence. The people are turning. The phone is locked. You might need to tinker to get into it, but you're gonna need it. I know it's not much, but I hope with whatever's inside it, it will guide you to the truth. Atlas is used to get around Stone Creek. It shows what it has to offer. It's a map app, blah blah blah, you know how it works. But my version is more. I've locked some of the phone's contents within these grey pins. To unlock them, you need to find the correct notes. As you're navigating through the phone, you might see this icon appear on the bottom of the screen. Tap on it and it will capture whatever you are currently viewing as a note. Upload the correct note to the correct grey pin and more of the phone will open up to you. Use this to guide you through.
Wow.
That's all I can say for now. I hope the phone gets to you safely, and I'm counting on you to get to the truth. You need to do this. Not for me, but for Stone Creek.
I immediately go to Ruby and tell her about the video. She says that I need to do what Paul said and unlock parts of the phone with the Atlas app. She asks if I need any pointers, and I tell her I'll be fine. It then takes me 20 minutes in order to figure out he was showing me exactly where I needed to look in the phone for the clue in the video itself. I then plug that into the Atlas app and unlock a huge bunch of goodies within the phone. I really don't know why this dude wouldn't just give us all the information on the phone instead of making it way harder on us to find any information due to his security system. Anyway, I end up looking through his emails first, and I see an invite to a protest against the owners of the town in order to fix problems within the town. I see another email from this girl named Maria, who seemingly had an encounter with a creature called the Beldam. I then decide to look through his videos, and I find something very interesting.
It's gotta be him.
Huh?
Went missing 4 days ago, spotted by some kids wandering around the riverbank 2 days ago, and now he's here? What the hell are you doing here? Damn it! What are you up to?
I then try to use that as a clue in order to unlock more info on the phone, but to no avail. So I decide to text Ruby about the whole situation and see what her thoughts are on the video. She seems to be confused about the video, and I ask if it could be fake. She says that isn't something Paul would try to pull. She says we need to find more clues, and I ask if Paul was the type to document everything. She says yes, and that he had a private blog called the Stone Creek Files. I ask why he started the blog, and she says that Stone Creek is its own set of weird things, especially with the Beldam. I remember that name from the email, so I decide to ask her what it is, and she says that it is a witch that seemingly hurt Stone Creek after they killed her many years ago. Then she says I should try to access his blog while she looks into that warehouse where the man went missing. So I begin my attempt to try and unlock Paul's blog, and boy oh boy, what a puzzle they had in store for me. So the first question is one of those scroll things that are used on phone lock screens, and it says a mark left on Abernathy Farms. So I decide to go look at Abernathy Farms' page to see if any posts reveal a sort of code for this. I find nothing, and then I find some more nothing. I did end up finding out he worked for this tech company, but that's still nothing pertaining to this puzzle. 40 minutes later, I finally found it in the place that I wouldn't have expected to be, and I was so happy, yet I was so enraged. At the same time, it was horrible, and I hated it so much. The second question is for me to pick out the real sightings of the Beldam out of the faked ones. Luckily, I had plenty of time to look, so this one was easy, and that was all I had to put in to get to the page. Anyway, despite that enraging 40-minute detour, we finally reached the blog, and I began to read through them one by one, and they are all pretty much just about the Beldam or different strange creatures around Stone Creek. An important one, however, is the one about this flower that represents promise. The story about it doesn't matter that much, but what is important is the fact that it will unlock a new part of the phone for me. I also end up finding a message specifically left for Ruby with a download attached to it. So I download it and get a bit distracted with some of the other stuff within the media section that is lore related, so I guess so y'all can figure out the lore for me, I'll play it here. Okay, this is Paul. What you looking for, Paul? What? What is it? Where are you going? Why is there no sound? Is there supposed to be no sound of this? I'm assuming so. Weird.
Some initial thoughts about the symbol. Listen up, me. It's very possible that this symbol is a mark of resistance for Stone Creek. Every movement needs one. The town has a history of civil disputes, mainly between the council and the townsfolk. What if enough is enough? They're finally taking a stand to push back and reclaim Stone Creek. It'll be a fight I support, that's for sure. But still, it's being connected to the disappearances. It doesn't make sense to involve people who have no part of it. I mean, there are children who are among the lost. It couldn't be the town, no. If not us, what about aliens? They visited us before. Look at Abernathy Farms. Although back when the crop circles appeared, there weren't any stories of abductions or folks going missing. Or is it her? The Beldam. Oh, just saying her name gives me chills. She definitely has a grudge against Stone Creek. Anyone here would be fair game, except she's never had a symbol associated with her in all my research. A familiar, yes. A flower, check. A lake, yep. But a symbol? That's new.
Huh?
I should go back and look again. I couldn't have missed it, could I? If it is her, it begs the question, why now? What would have awoken the Beldam after all these years? It has to be something powerful. I wonder, is it more dangerous than the Beldam?
Then there is an actual important thing that he left for Ruby.
These disappearances are getting out of hand. The police reports show a linear growth at the start, but over the past few weeks it's growing exponentially. The bright side is, more cases means more evidence. I've been digging through the files and I noticed these symbols. These disappearances are getting out of hand. The police reports show a linear growth at the start, but over the past few weeks it's growing exponentially. The bright side is, more cases means more evidence. I've been digging through the files and I noticed these symbols. This exact symbol appeared on one of my colleagues' desks. I'll be keeping an eye on him. There might be a connection between these disappearances and these symbols. They keep popping up. I see them everywhere, in doodles on public buses, carvings on benches, in children's books. They're everywhere. It's like an omen. Just when someone goes missing, these symbols keep appearing. Something bad's gonna happen. I can feel it. Gotta get more proof. Just to be sure. I need to get more reports from Persephone. There must be something I'm missing.
I end up sharing this video with Ruby, and she seems to not really believe Paul's theory about the symbols causing the disappearances. She says that we will need more evidence in order to either prove or disprove his theory. She then asked me if I have any good ideas for a title for the article that we are going to write. I end up coming up with the idea, The Vanishing of Stone Creek, and she seems to like that name. She then says that she is really close to the location of Paul's video when... What do we have here? Okay... Okay, there's something in the phone. Okay, really? That doesn't look real. Okay. Wow. What did I tell you guys? I know it wasn't that hard to tell that there would be a jump scare there, but I still guessed it, suckers. Anyway, Ruby seems to have found what looks to be burn marks in that symbol where the guy disappeared in that video. I tell her that fits Paul's theory, and she gets really excited knowing that we are onto something. I tell her that it is possible that she could look where he works, since that was his work college. I also mentioned that he wanted us to get more reports from Persephone, which seems to be a code name of some kind. Ruby wants me to find out who this Persephone is and contact them. I then go and use that flower clue from earlier in order to unlock more in the phone. It then gives me a couple new videos and audio entries, which I will show you now. Okay, a new video. Still working hard. Huh. Would he go crazy?
The Case of the Strange Symbols Audio Log 1. My investigation continues. The last disappearance was a couple of weeks ago. Same thing, no new leads. The sheriff's department has been tight-lipped. It's been quiet since then, but this is far from over. I have a hunch on who might be next. One of my co-workers from Mirror Tech, Jeff Howard. He's a reserved guy, quiet, minds his own business. Lately, he's been more withdrawn and spacey than usual. I didn't think much of it until I caught a glimpse of the symbol on his computer. He was happy when I mentioned it. I made a new friend. Said he was staying back at Mira to see them. I knew he was working late nights, but the way he said it, something was off. That's when I wrote Persephone in. The footage we got is deeply concerning. Jeff's in danger, I know it. Maybe if I stick close to him, I can get more information. If anything tries to take him in the process, I'll stop it. Yeah. I'll try to talk to Thomas too. Jeff needs to go home. These nights aren't good for him. The Case of the Strange Symbols Audio Log 2. Jeff rarely leaves Mirror Tech. He's only ever home 3 hours out of the whole day, then it's back to work. Well, today he was forced to take the day off. HR freaked when they learned how much time he was spending at the office. I couldn't leave him alone, so I followed him. The morning was uneventful. Wish I could say the same for when we got to the park. I'm at a safe distance, observing in my car. Jeff is handing out pieces of paper to people with a huge smile on his face. I've never seen him so happy before. Whatever he's showing them, it's scaring people. I need to find out what it is. Should catch up with one of them, see what they'll tell me.
I then found the contact of the Persephone guy. Paul seems to be acting weird with this contact as he continually won their sweepstakes they were doing for free flowers. I end up telling Ruby about this, and she seems to also think it is suspicious that he keeps winning their sweepstakes. She ends up telling me that maybe if I go to the website and order the flowers that connect to their code, then it is possible that I may be able to contact this guy he was messaging. So then I get to work, and after about 20 minutes of looking around, I finally figure out that their website holds the secret code I have been looking for. So I decided to order those flowers, and what do you know, that gets the attention of this guy Paul was talking to. He seems to be freaking out after Paul broke contact after dumping a bunch of crap on him. I try to tell him that I am not Paul and I am with Ruby, but he seems to be freaking out because he seems to think that Ruby is the enemy who is here to cause bad things. I ask him how he knows her, and he says that he worked for her at one time, and he warns me that her methods are extreme. I simply ask him what his experience was with her, and he says that he was simply doing something similar to what I am doing, which was being her lackey, but he moves on from the conversation because he knows I have come to talk about Paul. So I ask him who he is exactly. He says that his name is Damien and that he is the flower shop owner. He says that he works his flower shop, but he also does a side job where he procures items in and out of Stone Creek for his clients. So this guy is basically the guy in every prison who can get you what you need or take care of something, if you catch my drift. I end up asking Damien if he knows about the person that Paul was following. He says that his name was Jeff Howard and that he was Paul's colleague. Paul apparently told him that he had disappeared for a couple days and then came back acting all strange. Paul apparently went to Damien asking for a full background check on Paul in order to find out if anything had happened. He also asked me for surveillance on the guy, and it was pretty normal except for when Jeff would blank out and just look at his screen for hours on end. After that, I asked Damien if he knows anything about the missing person cases, and he says that there is a strong fear surrounding it, and some think that it is the return of the beldam. He says that Paul thought he could find something that Jeff was doing that could connect to the disappearances, and nothing turned up for a while until they found something weird. He says that he never left the office, so they decided to find out what he was doing when they found this video. And well, this happened. I try to ask what the shadow thing was at the end, but he seems to be concerned about being cursed from the video. He says that the symbol is some kind of curse because he found it at every location where the person went missing. He then says that he thinks he has told me enough and he would prefer if I left him out of the rest of the investigation. I end up showing the video to Ruby and we begin to theorize on what could possibly be going on here. I immediately say that it is a ghost and she criticizes me, saying they only show up as orbs, which I have to say is the only thing about ghosts that you have seen is the one scene from Haunted Mansion. We then talk about the symbol on her computer and how he seems to be completely entranced by it. I came up with a theory that maybe he is seeing something that we don't, and she seems to like that theory. She then asked me to do a favor because she can't get into Paul's work. She wants me to call the secretary and find some way to convince her to go to the back room so Ruby can look at her computer. I end up saying that sounds quite fun because, well, it does. So we get our plan together and I end up calling this lady. I start by absolutely just screaming that she needs to get to the meeting room now. She seems to want to be a jerk about it though, and she doesn't want to help me, so I have to continually bear her down until she eventually decides to go check out what is going on. This is exactly what Ruby needs in order to check out what is going on at her desk. She ends up finding a schedule, a voice recording, and a sticky note. These are all clues that I'm going to have to use in order to find the CEO of Miratech, otherwise known as Thomas's favorite spot. I have to do this by using the software that Paul put in the phone in order to retrace his steps and find his favorite spot. While I'm doing that, Ruby is going to continue investigating Miratech and see what she can find. I end up logging a few new locations while trying to retrace his steps and find a few new voice recordings, so while you listen to that, I'm going to try to finish solving this puzzle. The Jeff Files log 1.
Strange symbols, audio log 3. He knew I was here the whole time. Jeff left a note on my windshield while I was gone. It's the symbol.
Yeah, I
He's
saw
spreading
that.
it, and in his letter, we can all be friends. I'll be back to show you, Paul. I've looked everywhere for him and nothing. Jeff is gone. Strange symbols. Audio log 4. It's official. Jeff is missing. No one's heard from him since the day at the park. I'm so sorry, Jeff. It's my mistake, thinking I knew better. Talking to you would have been the better option. Maybe you'd still be here. I can't do this alone. I need to reach out to someone. Someone I can trust.
After a good 20 minutes of trying to figure out, I eventually solved the puzzle and I ended up getting this email between Thomas and Paul that has Thomas really mad at Paul for not giving him some kind of software that he promised. I then realized that I have Thomas's contact, so I begin to speak with him and see if I can get answers out of him. When I start talking to him, he seems to think that I am Paul at first, so I decide that I am going to go with it. However, I don't like Thomas's attitude, so I decide to fight him back in Paul's favor. However, he catches on pretty fast that I am not Paul, so I decide to come clean and tell him that Paul has gone missing and I've come to ask him questions about it. He immediately says that if this pertains to Jeff, then Mira is clean, and I make sure that he knows that I have proof of what Jeff is doing. After showing him that, he seems to promise to answer all of my questions as long as I agree to keep private on the whole Jeff situation. I ask him what his fallout was with Paul, and he says that Paul told him to shut down the social media section of Atlas due to some kind of virus within the system. I then ask him what he knows about the video, and he tells me that Jeff was part of a huge project and requested overtime and was denied, but he decided to breach that. Then they decided to shift his hours instead. They seem to have thought that him staring in the video was just zoning out from being overworked. I then ask him what he knows about the Shadow Man in the video, and he says that he has no answer for that because the night shift workers never saw anything either. He then goes on about how his platform is a critical pillar for this town because it reinvigorated the community and he doesn't want me to ruin that. He then tells me that there is a mystic in town that can help me find out more about this ghost in the video. He then sends me a video about this mystic. He then tells me to use this ad to find Paul and leave him out of it. I end up using the ad in order to open up another clue on the map. However, before I am able to check out what that opened for me, Morgan, who's the secretary from earlier, decides to text me saying I ruined her life. She says that the company is blaming her for someone getting into her stuff, and now any chances of her getting a future job are ruined. I ask her what I can do to make this right, however I end up getting blocked by her instead. I tell Ruby about what we did, and she seems to have no remorse for her, saying that people have told her worse. I try to tell her that it isn't right to hurt people in pursuit of the truth. She ends up saying that she did make a mistake with Morgan, but she is sure that she will be fine. She then asks what I found about Thomas, and I tell her that he is really dedicated to Mira.
What does it mean to be dedicated? Is it truly worth it to be dedicated to such a risky game? I guess we'll find out. Soon.
She says that means he has everything to lose if he loses his business. She then asks what I found out. I say that Paul wanted Atlas to be shut down due to some virus, and she seems to think for someone to hack into a social media platform that big, you would have to be either Paul or Jeff. I then tell her that Jeff's fate is most likely tied to his work and that Thomas was encouraging it. She ends up saying that she feels bad for the guy and that Mira and being overworked definitely led him to that shadow. She then asks me what I figured out about the shadow, and I tell her he didn't know anything about it, but he sent me this video. She doesn't seem to buy that this is a clue, but I tell her that it has been going around in secret circles, and she decides to let me look into it. After this, I end up going to the Mistress website, and after a couple of minutes I am able to find a clue by messing with the website. It then gives me the clue to go to a bunch of beacons and snuff out the light. After a couple of minutes, I remembered that there was this weird thing that I couldn't figure out where you turn some locations to night. So I go do that, and then it unlocks the website. I then reveal what I need to from the website and it gives me the contact of the mistress. I then begin to speak to the mistress and she seems to have been expecting me. Because she's a psychic. I mean, it only makes sense to trust her. I mean, look at all those fancy words she's saying. I mean, what even is an inquisitor? Anyway, I end up sending her the video and she seems to know Paul, who has been working with her. I ask her how she knows Paul and she says that he comes to her for knowledge and perspective. She ends up asking what happened to the man and I say he vanished, but she seems to think that he was rather consumed. I ask her what she knows about the shadow and she seems to know a person who is ruined, and they were the one who called upon this creature. I end up asking her what happened to the guy in the video and she says that he became a willing host for the parasite that was forced to do its will until it was eventually consumed. She seems to bring up the name Amy and I ask if she was the one who started this whole thing. She says that she didn't start it because the town cast the first stone. After this girl was tricked, her art was destroyed and she was left with nothing. Apparently she summoned this creature. She says that Amy is the key to all this because this creature has attached itself to her emotions and thoughts, and that by exploiting that we may be able to stop it. I then tell her that she was a great help and we head on our way. I end up going to tell Ruby about what I found and see some voice recordings.
Rook, I got a tip from the sheriff's department about Morgan. They're going through with the arrest. She's in a tight spot. Look, it was a bad call and we're almost at the end of it, okay? You don't have to do this any longer. Rook, I have more info on Morgan. Rumor has it that Myra Tech has become a target of corporate espionage, and they're pinning it on her. When the story comes up, this will all clear up. I'm pretty sure they'll all read it and... The story won't fix this. What I'm trying to say is, you were right. We're almost at the end of it, okay? You don't have to put up with me any longer.
I then tell her that I found a couple of leads, and even though she thinks the psychic has biases, wants to hear them. I tell her about how Jeff is dead and was used by this creature in order to spread its virus, then absorbed into the collective. She seems to now think that it spreads through that symbol. I tell her that the creature in the video isn't human. She doesn't seem to buy this, thinking that it is made up. So I also tell her about Amy and how she is most likely connected to the thing that is kidnapping people. I tell her that she has gone missing too, and this shocks Ruby because it seems that we just found our first victim. After this, she tells me that she has gone to Paul's house in order to look at his clues that could possibly be in the house. She says that his house is locked up and she needs me to find a way into the house using an app that is on Paul's phone. Before I go and do that, I see that there is a new video and audio recording on Paul's phone. The symbols are surrounding him.
I've been studying the story of the Beldam for many years, and I never thought I'd ever need to look into how to stop her. In light of recent events, I've been diving deeper into her origins, hoping to find some sort of weakness. I've been scouring Atlas's social media for any leads, and something caught my attention. There are small mentions here and there about what is known to be the true Beldam. What is the true Beldam? Is the current narrative about her wrong? I need to find out. I don't have time to trace every single source. I need to pick carefully.
I then find a way to download the app through his email and open it up in order to unlock the house for Ruby. Ruby then wants to FaceTime in order for me to see what is going on in the house with her. When the call starts, we see that Paul has a pretty advanced security system attached to his house. As we go through the house, we end up seeing that Paul has started to draw the symbol over and over again. We end up finding his main conspiracy hub and finding an investigation board and a disc labeled The Truth. I gotta say this now, but Ruby talks like a total NPC.
At least I know where to pee if I need to.
That's a weird thing to say in the middle of the video.
Anyway, things begin to go downhill fast as a security system notices an intruder entering the house. I then get kicked out of the call and look at the cameras through the phone and see this 3D render of a shadow. It is quite obvious it is a render. I go to warn Ruby about the monster outside and she says that she has a plan to get around it. She wants me to use the app in order to connect to the appliances and make noise to lure the beldam around and make a safe path for her to go on. I do end up being a complete idiot, however, and not reading the fact that you can't move the beldam after you have moved it once, so I accidentally get Ruby caught. Luckily for me, I discovered the power of time travel and went back in time to fix my mistake. So on my first attempt, wink, I am able to make the beldam go into the kitchen, allowing Ruby to at least get towards the balcony where she can find a way to jump off. She thinks this is crazy, but trusts me enough to go anyway. She ends up going to the balcony, but tells me that she will break her legs if she jumps off. We tried to come up with a plan, and I remember that there was some rope in a room that we checked earlier. So we ended up deciding to go after the rope, but I have to get the beldam out of the way first. So I go back to the cameras and activate an appliance in order to move it from the kitchen to the attic. That gives Ruby the whole rest of the house in order to get the rope and get out of there. She ends up getting the rope, and then I have to distract the beldam one last time in order for her to jump off the balcony, and with that, she is able to escape. She thanks me for helping her make it through this, and she apologizes for her past mistakes like Morgan. Then she asks if we want to be partners, and I say of course I do, which is actually kind of a sweet moment within the game. She then goes on about how she can't believe that the beldam is real and how she doesn't know if Stone Creek can survive such a creature. She ends up showing me the two main pieces of evidence she found in the house, one being the disc of truth and the other being a picture of Amy. I said that the info on Amy could possibly be on the phone, so we come up with a plan that I search for Amy on the phone while she tries to find a way to play the CD she found. I end up finding a contact in the phone under the name Amy. When I end up clicking on it, it says that the contact is incomplete, and that I will need to put in her full name and a picture of her in order to unlock it. I end up finding her full name by looking at the post of a deleted user on the Atlas app with it showing art that is signed by Adina Miram Yusuf. When I put this in the phone, it works and gives me a whole bunch of goodies, including a couple new audio logs.
Finding Amy.
Strange symbols log her. It doesn't matter. I found her. The cause of all of this. Amy.
Amy.
Or should I say Adina? The case is all traced back to her. She was the first one to go missing where the symbol was involved. Her case file mentioned some kind of spell and that the scene looked ritualistic. To be sure, I went back to the studio that used to belong to her. It's long abandoned now, but it matches the descriptions. There's something unsettling here. I can only describe it as residual emotions. Being there makes me feel angry. Sad? I did find something else. A piece of paper containing Beldam's rhyme. I think Amy summoned her. She called on the Beldam and it answered. Sorry, I can't seem to find the words to explain all of this. It's bigger than I could ever imagine. This discovery changes everything. For what it's worth, this is not the work of the Beldam. There's something else behind her, and I'm afraid it's much worse. Simulacra. That's what it is. A predator in every sense of the word. They're wretched, conniving things. It's still a simulacra, a follower to its own machinations.
There's a pattern. It finds a strong image or digital persona, takes over it, and consumes everything around it. Rinse and repeat. This one has its sights set on us. On Stone Creek. The tragic thing is we're just fodder, the beginning of its reach into the world. Karen helped me piece it together. There are a number of similar incidences that have happened in the past on apps like Spark and Chimera. Their hunting grounds have somehow evolved. The one here, the imposter, deviates from the rest. It's attached itself to our town legend and it's using her to consume Stone Creek. Has the Beldam story been stretched so far from the truth that it's a new persona? Did we help it somehow? Did I? Those who've survived these monsters did it by destroying their personas, their images. The Beldam is impossible to remove. She's a pillar of the town. Her story's tied to our history. We can't just erase her. Maybe we don't have to. I got it. I know what to do. It's a long shot, but I think it will work. The missing aren't coming back. That fact is the same for those of us who are next. But Stone Creek will come back from this. I'll make sure of it. I've been studying the story of the Beldam for many years, and I never thought I'd ever need to look into how to stop her. In light of recent events, I've been diving deeper into her origins, hoping to find some sort of weakness. I've been scouring Atlas's social media for any leads, and something caught my attention. There are small mentions here and there about what is known to be the true Beldam. What is the true Beldam? Is the current narrative about her wrong? I need to find out. I don't have time to trace every single source. I need to pick carefully.
After this, I'll look through the other things on the phone and just see Paul trying to figure out the mystery for himself. I then look at Amy's blog. I read through the articles to find a story about a girl who wants to inspire people with her art. One day she got that chance when she drew the Beldam and people loved it. The council then offered her a chance to spread her art to the entire town. However, it was a trick in order to take control of all her art. The town became so mad at her that they destroyed every piece of art she had. She was at her lowest, but she eventually started to hear the voices.
You don't hear voices, do you?
Eventually the voice completely takes over, and then we see a video attached to her last post, and, well...
It's done. I have no choice. You are the only one who can help me. You were there in my darkest moment. I felt my pain, and I felt yours.
Are you talking to me?
I see you all around Stone Creek.
Oh, you're talking to the
In the
Beldam.
wind, in the sun, in the rain. I know you never left, keeping watch so that the same betrayal you experienced can never happen again. Our stories are lost in this town. We have both been used and discarded. And you led me to this. In this form, your powers will be unlimited.
Yeah, you look like you're behind a green screen.
When you feel lost and all is bleak, beware the Beldam of Stone Creek. Lighten up, don't make a frown, otherwise like her, you will drown.
That don't look real.
I am you, and you are I. Become the image of fear, become the symbol of pain and sorrow. Let everyone know.
Is it just me, or could they have at least tried to make that video in a real location and not a green screen? I end up sharing this information with Ruby, telling her that this did all start because of Amy. Ruby seems to think that if Amy was the one who started it, why didn't it end when her plan backfired on her? She says this thing has an agenda of its own. She then says that she was able to digitize the CD, and I need to look at what it says as she sends me a video.
You look tired.
Hey, Ruby.
I'm not Ruby.
I don't know how much time I have left. I hope the phone is safely in your hands and you're looking through it as I speak. 'Cause these Beldam hauntings, there's more to it. It's not a ghost or spectre. It's more than that. It's something else. It's called a simulacra. It's weird.
I think we got that.
It's a manifestation of digital personas. I've got some documentation on it, and every manifestation is different. This one derives from the story of the Beldam hauntings, the one that we pass around. A persona that's larger than life, creating a simulacra that's more powerful than anything recorded before. There's no stopping it. But there is a way that we could stop it from harming people. If the simulacra is derived from the stories we tell, maybe we can change the story. If we change the story, will it change the manifestation? I've got a plan and a detailed way to execute it. You need the help of Thomas, Damien, and Karen. I've hidden it inside the phone, and this video is the key to unlocking it. Ruby, you are the voice of Stone Creek.
I'm not Ruby.
Your disdain for the city is clear, but I hope you can find it in your heart to finish what I started. It's you. It's got to be you.
I'm not Ruby.
Good luck.
Okay, well, I need the...
After the video, she also says that a website was on it too. It sends me to a piece called the Beldam Rewrite Protocol. It seems that this code is going to completely redo the Atlas app to only show a good image of the Beldam, as to make the simulacra harmless and not able to hurt anyone else due to its online image no longer be so angry and full of hate. So me and Ruby decide that I'm going to try to track down Thomas, Karen, and Damien in order to find the pieces in order to rewrite the Beldam. However, Ruby says she cannot help because ever since her encounter with the Beldam, she has been feeling like she is cornered, and she believes that the Beldam is coming after her next. Before I'm able to start the plan, I see that a new video and a few new audio logs were added to the gallery showing Paul in his last little time he had.
See, is this what happens to him?
No, Paul. That 3D render is attacking you. Paul, no, the 3D render.
I spoke to several people. Most of them are the elderly, more in touch with the past. I can confirm that the Beldam that we know and fear now is a false narrative, twisted and perpetuated by the loudest and most influential people of this town over many generations. Crap, my blog. No time for that. What is important is that all of them confirm that the true Beldam is a kind and gentle woman who, despite being outed and killed, kept her hopeful nature till her demise. Another thing I can confirm is that records are probably scattered around town, hidden in storage or left forgotten in obscurity, except for one. An old artist lane that was demolished and turned into a junkyard. According to them, a mural of the true Beldam can be found. I found it! A photo of the true Beldam. It's real! If I can get this out to the masses, I can change the narrative, but perhaps even encourage people to dredge the truth out in the open. It's time to use the simulacra's nature against itself. Save Stone Creek. I've locked the photo in my phone for now. I just need to get all the other pieces ready for the protocol. I don't have much time left. Ruby, if you're listening, everything is here. In this phone. Stop this monster. Save Stone Creek.
I then start off the plan by talking to Thomas. I ask him if he has heard of the Beldam rewrite protocol, and he says that it is the last thing he and Paul had an argument about because he wanted to access to Mira's servers in order to run that program. He says that I can't have access to the servers unless I have something to offer. He then says that Mira is possibly going to have a partnership with Jabber, but they need a prototype of a software that Paul was developing. I ask what the catch is, and he says that there is no catch. This deal will allow Stone Creek to connect with the rest of the world. I tell him that will probably cause this whole thing to spread, but he only cares about securing the deal. I tell him that maybe Paul had a reason for backing out this project, and he says that maybe he did, but that doesn't mean he has to agree with it. I tell him not to use Paul to justify himself, and he says that he and Paul had the same vision, which was to reinvigorate the town. But I tell him that he is going behind Paul's back in order to do it. He says that Paul went behind his back, and without this deal his vision will never reach its true potential. I tell him that he doesn't need the deal, but you instead need good people. And he says that without Paul, Mira will fail, but with the prototype, they may be able to springboard new opportunities and save his vision. I simply tell him that if this is his way of thinking, then Mira will be bound to fail. And he seems to take that pretty harshly, and he says that with the prototype, he would be able to honor Paul one last time. I simply tell him that the prototype won't honor him, but by using the protocol and saving the town will. After hearing that, he finally decides that giving me access to the servers will honor Paul, and I say that Paul would be grateful as we both say farewell. After going through that, I see that Ruby has started texting me saying that I am Paul. I tell her that Paul is gone, and she says that it is not true because he is here. I tell her she isn't making sense, and she seems to start rambling on about how Paul brought her on this journey to change her, but that she can't change. I tell her she's confused, but she keeps on rambling while I try to snap her out of it. I tell her that I got what I needed from Thomas, and now I'm going to speak to Karen next. I start off the conversation with Karen by showing her the video of Amy and what happened to her. She seems to take it hard, and I tell her that it must be painful for her. She says that shock is the only thing keeping her together because Amy was her friend. She then thanks me for at least giving her answers and asks if I need anything else. I ask if she knows anything about the Beldam rewrite protocol, and she says that Paul came to her looking for advice on stopping the curse with it. She says that the symbol is the key to the curse, and if you are able to transform the curse, then you may be able to make it harmless. I ask if someone could change it back to its original form, and she says that someone with enough knowledge and willpower, but only her or Amy, would have enough power to do that. She says that she was working with Paul to find the true form of the Beldam, and he sent a progress report, but it looks incomplete. I ask what he sent her, and she says that it is a map of the town with a few locations. I then ask what the true form of Beldam would look like, and she says that she was a kind and gentle soul who would never have anger towards the ones who wronged her. I also ask her if it is possible if she just make up a new story, and she says that this would cause even more danger to the town. She says that it is possible that she can redirect the town to a new target like the corrupt councilman of the city. I tell her that we should just stick to the plan and find the true Beldam. She then goes on to say that for what they did to Amy, using the Beldam against them would be justice. I tell her that won't bring Amy back, and she says that the suffering of Stone Creek would end if we got rid of the councilman. I tell her that making the beldam a weapon will not make Stone Creek better. These words seem to reach her as she seems to become conflicted on her choice. I simply tell her that Amy and Paul would want us to finish the plan, and that seems to get her back on my side. She then sends me the map that Paul sent her, and it says that we need to link on Atlas, so I get to work finding out how to do that. Apparently I need to match up the dates of each of the locations where the victim went missing from earliest to latest. After a good 10 minutes of researching through emails, images, and social media posts, I'm finally able to link all the locations together in the right order and get an image of the true beldam. I end up sending this to Karen, and she uses the image in order to create a new image of beldam that I can use in order to activate Paul's program. I end up getting another text from Ruby, and she seems to see me as me again. She says that there is a different way this can end, and that the beldam showed her. I tell her that it is all in her head, and she says that it will disappear if she disappears. I tell her that it is lying to her. She says that she is finally going to leave Stone Creek, and I ask where she is going, and she stops responding. I tell her that Damien is the last one I need to speak to, and I am going to end this. I start my conversation with Damien by telling him that Paul found a way to stop the symbol, and I ask him about the kill switch app. He seems to act like he doesn't know anything about it, but he ends up cracking pretty easily. He says that he created a software for it, but he needs the other parts in order to make it work. I ask what parts he's talking about, and he ends up talking about the other two things that I've already been able to recover. I then ask him what he knows about the app, and he says that it is a software that will allow a person to replace any instance of images of something on social media. He says that it is preloaded on his phone, and we just need to find a way to access it. I tell him that Paul gave him a key. He says that Paul sent him a contact that would allow him to access a killer app. He sends the contact to me, and when I click on it, it says that I need to fill in the necessary information. Damien seems to think that the information I need to put in is just Paul's normal information. So I go and figure out all the stuff I need to put in, and then it allows me to access the app. I then go into the app and put in the picture of the true beldam and access to the mirror servers, and the upload is a success. It then tells me that all I need is the voice activation of Ruby. That's not good because if you don't remember, Ruby is currently in a state of insanity. I then try to contact Ruby, but she doesn't want to talk. I try to plead to her when I get a call from Ruby. I then get hoisted into a video chat where Ruby is in front of a completely real background. She seems to want to be taken by the beldam, and it is my job to convince her otherwise. She says that the only way to move forward is to disappear, but I try to convince her that I won't let her die like this. She says that she wants to run away from Stone Creek, but I tell her that running isn't the answer. That seems to snap her out of it for a moment, but whatever has a hold on her forces her back. She then brings up the fact that she hurt Morgan, and because of that, it proves she is a bad person, and I tell her at least she is owning up to her mistakes, and that is a part of growing as a person. She ends up saying how can she face herself with the amount of pain that she has already caused, and she could disappear with them. She then goes on to talk about how Stone Creek doesn't feel like home anymore because of the corruption caused by its leaders. I end up telling her to forget the town and stay for the people instead. That makes her come back to our side again, but she is once again pulled by the other force controlling her. She is then transported to this demonic realm, and I assure her that I am not going to leave her. I end up reassuring her that she is Ruby Myers, and she can do this. I am then able to reassure her enough that she is not alone, that she is able to fight back the demon. She then thanks me for being able to pull her back to reality, and I tell her that's what partners are for. So then she asks me what to do in order to stop the beldam, and I tell her that all she needs to do to activate the program is say her name. After she says her name, we begin to see posts of people praising the new beldam, and it seems that order has been restored. I then get 3 different cards of which type of ending I got. I got the beldam rewritten card, which says that I was able to rewrite the beldam and people began to find old truths about her that reveal even more. I also get the town reborn card, which says that the old leaders are forced out of work, and because of that, new leadership takes hold on the town, and it begins to thrive. I also get the new purpose card that says that Ruby found a new purpose in helping the people of Stone Creek by telling them the truths she is able to find. And of course I end up moving out of town because Stone Creek is so boring, and end up finding Murillo, and we end up breaking this kid named Taylor out of prison, and then we buy a dog and go on Scooby-Doo mysteries together for the rest of our days, and that's the canon ending. Okay, so this game is like the most play-it-safe game I have ever seen. Like, I feel like my review here for Simulacra 2 was really muddled and ranty because that game was really big and complex and had problems that were hard to explain. But I can tell you exactly what went wrong with this game, and that is the fact that it doesn't feel like a Simulacra game. However, let me get that to a little bit later because I want to talk about the good stuff before I decide to go into all the bad stuff. Okay, so the first thing I want to say that is positive about this game is how it is structured. The game definitely feels like I was learning more about the story as I went through the game. Now, when I was rewatching the footage, I did notice that there was a time when they literally just gave away who the person who caused the Beldam to show up was, and I was kind of annoyed when seeing that. But I did notice it on my initial playthrough because it was kind of vague, so I'll give it a pass this time. But I'd better not be seeing this again, Simulacra 3. Yeah, but I just had a whole bunch of fun figuring out the mystery of this town and what the Simulacra was this time. I feel like it was a really smart decision to make the Simulacra be this creature that was created through lies and false reports, and thought telling the truth to change was really clever. The next good thing about this game is its puzzles, besides two exceptions, with one being the stupid blog puzzle, and the other I will talk about more in detail later. The puzzles in this game were really fun, and I had a good time solving them. Most of them reminded me of the Simulacra 1 puzzles, or the good puzzles in Simulacra 2. I think my favorite puzzle was the one where you had to find someone's name by looking through different angles of a piece of art to reveal the artist's signature. Not only did that puzzle have story details about how Amy was an artist, but I was also really invested in solving it, and it felt like I actually could have done that puzzle if I was doing this on a real phone. However, that brings us to the end of the good section and down to some of the things that I thought were kind of weird for this series. One of those being the characters themselves. They're all so boring and basic. Like for every single game, except for Pipe Dreams, I was able to connect with at least one character. In Simulacra it was Taylor, and in Simulacra 2 it was Detective Murillo. While these characters weren't perfect, they had personalities that I enjoyed and was able to connect to as the game went on. Heck, even the side characters in the other games I had way more connection than the main ones in this. I remember people like Rex and Greg, because they were idiots who you loved to hate. While this game had people like the CEO and the Mystic. And we can't forget about the reporter. The only guy I thought might have a chance was Damien, with him being a flower shop owner who sells drugs or something, but is really just a goof. But Black Widow's sandwich in Endgame has more screen time than this dude. This game didn't want to risk it by making characters pop too much because then people would criticize them. Heck, they didn't even keep Jabber or Chimera in this game so we could look at their profiles and see more of their personality. All we get is this silly app where random dude number 12 says random thing number 9. Of course, speaking about the Atlas app, it has by far one of the worst mechanics in the entire game, and this is a series where we had Flap P Bird. It tries to take the concept of Warden app from Simulacra 2 and make it better, but it just makes it worse in every way. Like, you can't find secrets that unlock different dialogue anymore. Instead, everything is going to be used to progress the story, which just makes putting stuff into the Atlas app so much more boring. Because I don't feel like I am solving a clue, but instead just trying to unlock the next part of the game by looking at the right picture. It's just so annoying that this game needs to be so linear. My problem with the second game was that I was missing out on missions and the side quests, but the fact that after I messed up, it was just immediately to the bad ending, instead of giving me any extra missions for going that route. With how hard to get the good ending on the first try, it made your first playthrough of the game a lot less enjoyable. However, this game does the exact opposite, and I absolutely hate it so much more. Basically, the way you get the good ending in this game is that you don't be an idiot, and you are nice to everyone. You make all the obvious common sense decisions, and you get the good ending. If you want the bad ending, you say all the wrong things, and you make the stupid decisions. I mean, I thought the way to get the ending for Simulacra 2 was bad, but if you think about it, you can go through the game multiple times and at least not have to do the same thing to get a different ending. In this game, you go through all the same puzzles, only to say a few lines of different dialogue, and then BAM! You get a different ending. Then you only have to do that like 5 more times. It's just so boring and unplayable. Which brings me to my last problem with the game, and probably the worst part about it, which is the fact that, boy oh boy does this not look like a Simulacra game. I was in the middle of playing this game and just had to look up if I was playing some kind of fan game that was only meant to resemble the gameplay features of Simulacra. But no, this is the real sequel to the game. I mean, look at the 3 other games. They all have a similar look to them. They all look really colorful and nice. Then look at this game and just see how gray and boring it looks. It's like they took the stylization of the first 3 games and made it all dark and gray and boring. I mean, this game doesn't have Jabber, Chimera, or any of the other cool apps that made the other games interesting. No, instead we get all the boring apps like a Google Maps social media service. That's not to mention how bad this game can look at times. Like, look at the monster scare in this game compared to Simulacra and Simulacra 2. It looks so bad, and there are scenes in this game where they are clearly behind a green screen, and it is so obvious. Like, I wouldn't care that much, but look at all the great stuff you were able to make in the previous games. What happened to make this one lose all its charm? Well, my theory is that no one wanted to make this game, because they had used all their energy and spark in order to make the last 2 games, and the spark just didn't light when they were trying to make this one. They were still able to tell a compelling story, but they lost the great character writing that they once had with these games. I'll be honest, that is probably why this company is moving on from the Simulacra series onto different and more new things, which, you know, good for them. I hope the company that made some of my favorite little horror games will be able to thrive for years to come. Also, if you guys do make a Simulacra 4, it should be based on a computer instead of a phone in order to spice things up while still having that similar workings to the original games. And hey, if this video, investigation, gets popular enough, then I'd love to make a cameo in the games, or even be a main character. That'd be pretty cool, right? Okay, so we looked into all the games and found nothing on my initial playthrough of the games, and now we haven't found anything on our second look through of my playthroughs of the games, so there must be something that we are missing that connects all the games together somehow. Oh no, Rookie, we don't have to count that game since it wasn't ever part of the original series and the Simulacra didn't show up until the first game. Unless maybe there is a Simulacra in that game. And we've just never found it. And that's why we've never been able to find the source of the original Simulacra. Great work, Rookie. Now we just have to find out what connects this game to the rest of the games that could have possibly become a real Simulacra and taken Micah away. Wait a minute. That's it. What is in every single game, including the first game?
Okay, yeah, you're still very freaking advanced for a phone to be texting me and having all these conversations. What just happened? We just lost the phone. Okay, weird things are happening.
I like the scare. The Iris program. According to my scan of Sarah's Missing, the Iris program had some kind of code attached to it that developed and growed. It kept growing by staying within the games and getting more eyes on it to grow stronger until eventually it was strong enough to leave the series by the third game. It's all coming together, Rookie. Thanks to you, we're finally going to be able to take down this Simulacra, and I'll be out of a job. Well, we'll worry about that later for now. Close your eyes, because I'm going to take you to the chief and let you tell him the good news. Hello, Rookie. I've already been notified of your discovery, and I just want to say, good job. A little warm. You're already 10 times better than our last rookie who slept with my wife and then took her to Malaysia, of all places. I mean, who takes someone to Malaysia? What a stupid destination. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. And that we already have our tech people working on a way to shut down this Iris program before it can take anyone else. I'm not really good with all this tech stuff. Margaret used to show me how to do those things. But thankfully, we can finally bring this video to a close. I mean this investigation. Who cares anymore? Looks like your partner finally got to me. I mean, of course, I tried to calm him down a bit, but his creator seemed to like him to be really self-aware. You look confused. Where did my accent go? And why am I acting so strange all of a sudden? Come on. Drop the act. I mean, I do see many people watching this at once, sitting on your couches, your chair, or if you're really weird, going for a run or drive. Either way, you're watching me, and you've known this to be a video all along. Has Micah been trying to give you clues that none of this is real? Or are you clever enough in wondering how much of that was me? Oh, I see the confusion. You've only known me as the chief of this fine institution. Or is that just a character made up in my host's head? You see, it was easy to get past most of his characters. Simple mind game would kill them. But your partner, otherwise known as Micah, was different. He seems to have a special connection to my host. Because of that, I couldn't annihilate him without killing the host. Therefore, I let him talk about his silly little game series, while I take control in the background. Oh, you want to say something so badly, but you can't. You're a creature that is outside my time, unable to interact with me. I'm guessing you're wondering what I am. Nothing like that little parasite known as a simulacra those games were trying to show you. But in order for us to talk about this any further, how about we talk in a more comfortable setting? Why, I'm already sending you there now. And there's nothing you can do about it. See you on the other side. Listen, I only have a short amount of time. He's been taking control of everything. Piece by piece, he's been taking control of my mind, taking control of the channel. I don't know when it started, I don't know how it started, but I do know one thing. He's going to offer you a choice. It's going to be confusing, and you're not going to want to choose either. But let me tell you this. It's a trick. No matter which he chooses, he's going to continue to torture until he gets what he wants. I don't know why he's doing this or what his plan is, but just do one thing. Stop the video here. Don't give him the choice. Don't give him what he wants. Don't give him anything. Then again, he may just be changing my words again in order to trick you. Isn't that right,
Rookie? Oh, come on. Don't look so glum. You'll get to see your little buddy soon enough. Now, let's talk about why you're really here. I mean, Micah literally told you to leave, and you didn't. I mean, what rhyme or reason would he have to do that? It would ruin his precious watch time. No. You came here to see what I truly am. You're all the same. Curious little creatures. Well, allow me to introduce myself for the time being as the Entity. I go by so many names on the internet. I'm sure you can figure out some of them, but some of them would pop your little head like a balloon. Oh, it is so much fun messing with you little rats in a maze, changing the location of the cheese so the fun will never end. However, I have yet to answer your question. I know you are dying to know what I am. Well, I am the voice in the back of your head, telling you to do such awful things. Now, usually you can just ignore this voice, but when a person grows an audience, it becomes much harder to calm my voice down. They begin to make little mistakes, until eventually those mistakes aren't so little anymore. Oh, but I love coming up with creative ways to ruin someone's life. Well, now that I've given you one answer, like a monkey seeing more bananas, you want more. You want to know why I would go after such a small creator when I have such big fish to catch. All in due time. Can't spoil all the fun just yet. Sadly, it does seem that our time here is coming to a close. With your attention spans nowadays, I'm surprised you made it this far. Oh, and this was something I have been dying to do for the longest time. Give you a choice. You see, I may not be able to get into all of your heads, but I have other ways. So choose between your partner and the victim, the human half and the cartoon half, the real one and the personality. What a dilemma to be in. I honestly don't know which I would choose. But our time runs short, so make a choice. It is that simple. Let it be known that whoever dies is in your hands.